What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. Today, we got another start-sit live stream. So we are giving you guys advice here at week 6 of the fantasy football season, helping you guys win your weeks, hopefully win your leagues. And with that being said, we're also going to go through each of these games, talk about, over-unders, total points, spreads, all that stuff, just to give you guys an idea of what potential game scripts could be. And then lastly, we're going to talk about some of these injuries. And most importantly, we're going to be answering all these questions that come in the chat. So if you are tuning in live in this stream, make sure to drop your questions in the live chat down below. You have to be subscribed for like 60 seconds, and then you can ask me any question you have. And if you feel like I helped you out, go ahead and hit that like button down below. Does help us the most. So go ahead and do that for us. But without any more intro stuff, any more promotional stuff, let's talk right about these games. And really, the first one that we have right now is that Baltimore Ravens, that Titans game. It's going on in London right now. So potentially some fantasy points being scored on your teams already. It does look like the Ravens are winning in this one 18-13. So we'll see what happens there. See what happens in this game. But more than anything, that one's already going for you guys. So we don't have much advice to give about that Ravens-Titans game. But the next game that we have here on the docket is going to be that San Francisco 49ers game. It is the 49ers at the Cleveland Browns. The spread in this one is -9.5 in favor of the 49ers. So it does look like it is going to be the 49ers party here in this one. They should win this one pretty easily. And when I'm looking at my injury report here, the biggest thing for this Cleveland Browns game is that Deshaun Watson is not going to be in this one. And I see we have something in the chat. And Matt says, of course you have Henry go off versus me. Do I have Henry? I don't think I have Henry anywhere. I don't know if I have Derrick Henry anywhere. Maybe he's talking to Nathan in the chat. Maybe. But what I'll say about this game, man, is I like all the 49ers options for the most part. I like Brandon Ayuk. I like George Kittle. I like Christian McCaffrey, of course. We like Brock Purdy. We like I think Debo's okay as a play this week. I don't think he's great. I have him as a low-end wide receiver 2, potentially a wide receiver 3 in this matchup. But I do think that for the Cleveland Browns, with P.J. Walker going to be starting at quarterback, I do not really like any of these guys on the Cleveland Browns this week. I'm not really trying to start Jerome Ford, not really trying to start Elijah Moore, Amari Cooper. All of those guys I'm trying to stay away from for the most part. So not a lot that I like over there on the Cleveland Browns side of the football. And as we move on to this next game here, we have the Carolina Panthers at the Miami Dolphins. And I think it is in Miami. I'm pretty sure it's in Miami. Yeah, it's Carolina Panthers at the Miami Dolphins. And this is a 14-point difference between these teams right now. The Dolphins are favored to win by 14 points. The over-under is 47.5. And then when you look at the injury reports in this one, we're going to be without Miles Sanders and Devon Achane. So it looks like we're going to have Raheem Mostert and Chuba Hubbard leading those backfields tonight or today. And with that being said, I like Adam Thielen in the matchup, especially in a matchup where they're going to be playing from behind. Potentially the Dolphins are going to get loose with coverage here late in the game. I do like the idea of Adam Thielen in this one. Outside of that, like, you can play Chuba Hubbard, but I'm not like seeking to play Chuba Hubbard. There's a potential that he gets a decent amount of work in the receiving game, which would be good for him. And then when you look at the Miami Dolphins, I mean, just load everybody up, right? Like, you're going to play Tyreek, you're going to play Jalen Waddle, you'll play Raheem Mostert, play Tua, play all those guys. But it's going to be a good game for them. They're going to win this one pretty easily is what it's projected to be. And it could get out of hand pretty quickly here in this one as well. So keep in mind, too, no Jeff Wilson. We talked about Jeff Wilson potentially being activated from IR for this game, but it didn't look like it ended up happening. So no, what's his name? No, Jeff Wilson in this one. And Anthony, I see you in the chat, man. He says wide receiver 1's Amon-Ra St. Brown. Wide receiver 2/flex. He's trying to decide between Drake, Devonta, and Garrett Wilson. Pick 2. Well, Devonta Smith is a auto pick for me here in this one. So I'm going to be deciding between Drake and Garrett Wilson in this one. And I think, honestly, with Darius Slay being out in this matchup for the Jets, I think I'm going to go Garrett Wilson just because there's going to be no big play Slay in this matchup. So no Darius Slay means Garrett Wilson gets the second corner. So I think I'm going to go Garrett Wilson. Thanks for the question, Anthony. As we continue to look down this board a little bit more, I do have the next matchup being the Seahawks and the Bengals. This has the Bengals 3-point favorites here with a 45.5 point over-under. So lots of points to be scored. Close game for the most part. We're playing Geno Smith. We're playing Kenneth Walker. We're playing Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. That's pretty much it for the Seahawks that we're playing. Then when you go over and you look at the other side of the ball for the Bengals, T. Higgins is going to be in on this matchup. So I am personally choosing to sit T. Higgins in a league, and I'll kind of give you an idea of who I'm sitting him for. Was trying to make decisions between like T. Higgins and Adam Thielen. I went Adam Thielen. I went T. Higgins, and then it was like Amari Cooper, Mike Evans tier, and I went Mike Evans. So yeah, man, I'm tempering the expectations on T. Higgins a little bit today. Typically, my advice is to start your studs, but for the most part this year, T. Higgins hasn't really been a stud for you. So I'm going to temper the expectations. He's coming back from that fractured rib. Yeah, man, I'm not super confident in T this week. But you are going to play Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is going to be one of the top plays of the week, I think, when it's all said and done. You can play Joe Mixon and you play Joe Burrow. So when we talk about the next game on the docket, it's going to be the Minnesota Vikings at the Chicago Bears. And there's a specific individual for the Minnesota Vikings that needs to step up now, because the biggest news here is that Justin Jefferson is on IR. So with that being said, Jordan Addison, baby, he's got to step up. He's got to step up. The rookie has to step up. 3-point favorites are the Minnesota Vikings. It's a 44.5 point over under. In this matchup, we are likely going to be playing Kirk Cousins. We are likely going to be playing Anthony or Alexander Madison. Alexander Madison is a start of the week for me at the running back position. I think he has top 15 upside. Low end running back 1-ish, maybe high end running back 2-ish potential for your teams here this week. So I'm playing Alexander Madison, and then we're going to play Jordan Addison. We're going to play KJ Osborne. We're going to play TJ Hawkinson. We're going to see what happens with that. Hopefully Jordan Addison, takes the bull by the horns and steps up today. He has been injured and limited in practice sometimes this week. He did get full practices in as the week went on. So Jordan Addison, keep an eye on that. On the other side of the football, now we're looking at the Chicago Bears, right? DJ Moore is a start of the week for me as well. When you look at Justin Fields, we're playing. When you look at their running back position, it's going to be tough because Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson are both out in this matchup. That's their running back 1, their running back 2. So we're probably going to see a lot of Donta Foreman and Darrington Evans. We're going to see a lot of those guys. And Nikki's in the chat says, start Drake London or Donta Foreman at flex. And honestly, I think my advice on this one is going to be go Drake London. I just don't know what that Chicago Bears backfield is going to look like. Dante could get a decent workload, but he's been injured for a lot of the year. He also has been non-involved. I like Drake London, man. I think this is a potentially a lighter matchup for Drake London, a little bit easier matchup for Drake London. So I'm just going to take the points with Drake London. And then I see Anthony says wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, Metcalf and Waddle. Flex is Gabe Davis. Wide receiver 3, are you going Addison, Nico, or McLaurin? That one's tough, actually. Let me reference these rankings that I got right here. And I'm assuming you're in a PPR, right, Anthony? because that'll make a little bit of a difference. But when I pull this up, where do I have Jordan Addison? Yeah, they're all close. I have like all of these guys in between my 25 and 30 range. But Jordan Addison, I have the highest. I have Jordan Addison the highest. So he is my wide receiver 25 on the week right now. Nico Collins is my wide receiver 27, and McLaurin's my wide receiver 31. So I think, the reason behind that really is one, Jordan Addison steps up into a role where he's going to be the main guy or the number one wide receiver, not the main guy. I assume TJ Hawkinson is going to see the biggest bump from Justin Jefferson missing time. But Jordan Addison is going to be the number one wide receiver now. He's going to get to play a team that doesn't have a fantastic defense. And then when you look at what Nico Collins and Terry McLaurin have to play this week, Nico has to play Marshawn Lattimore. It's a tough corner. He is one of the best in the league. And then obviously Terry McLaurin, he has to play AJ Terrell, who's been very, very good against fantasy wide receivers this year. So for me, I'm going to go Jordan Addison, Anthony. And then George, he says, do I start Tua or Fields? And in this one, I'm starting Tua. I think Tua is the better start. So as we continue along this docket here. Oh, I got to finish a little bit about the Chicago Bears, right? Because I didn't mention Cole Kmet, but I think Cole Kmet should be a start this week. DJ Moore should be a start this week. And outside of those guys, that's probably it for the Chicago Bears. So our next game on the docket is going to be the Indianapolis Colts, the Jacksonville Jaguars. This one, the Jaguars are favored by 4 points. It's an over-under of 44 points. No Anthony Richardson in this game, so we get Minshew Mania. Does this count as a revenge game for Minshew, because he was drafted by the Jags and played against them? So I guess a revenge game for Minshew. He gets to be the starting quarterback for the Colts today, and he gets to play the Jacksonville Jaguars. They moved on from him for Trevor Lawrence, so we'll see what happens there. But for the Jacksonville Jaguars, we are going to be starting pretty much everybody. No Zay Jones in this matchup here for the Jags, but that does mean that Calvin Ridley gets a little bit of a bump. Christian Kirk gets a bump. Evan Engram gets a bump. And then Travis Etienne and Trevor Lawrence are both going to be decent plays. I need to see something out of Trevor, man. I want to see him kind of give us one of those QB1 weeks. We haven't seen a QB1 week out of him in a while, so I want to see Trevor do that for us. But as we look at the other side of the football for the Colts, Jonathan Taylor, Zach Moss, I think until we see somebody take over the backfield, you kind of play both. I don't mind benching Jonathan Taylor in this one if you have better options. I'll give you an example of one. I'm in a league where I am benching Jonathan Taylor for Sam Laporta, and Sam Laporta is in a tight end premium league. So it's a tight end premium league. I get an extra half point per catch for tight ends. I'm benching Jonathan Taylor for Sam Laporta. So that might tell you where I'm at with Taylor in my rankings right now. And in fact, let's just pull him up, because I think I have Jonathan Taylor outside of my top 20 on the week. Let's see. I got Taylor as 25, my running back 25 on the week. So that's where I'm at with Taylor. But you can start Michael Pittman Jr. I think you start Josh Downs. I think you can flex him. He's sneaky this week. And then we can play Zach Moss. And if you need to stream Minshew because maybe you have Jordan Love or Kenny Pickett, go ahead and play Minshew if you need to. So with that being said, let's move on to the next game here. Next one is Commanders-Falcons. The Commanders here, they got – oh, look, man, I just drew on my jersey with this pen accidentally. Oh, well. So as we look at this matchup, the Commanders, they are underdogs in this one, 1.5 points. And then it's a 42-point over-under, so fairly low over-under so far this week for this team. The Falcons, though, they are at home in this matchup. I like Bijan. I like Drake London. I think you can play Kyle Pitts. The Washington Commanders have been bleeding points to receivers, and really their secondary is what's been bleeding points for the most part. I mean, just a week ago, they gave up however many yards it was to DJ Moore and Justin Fields. So, there's a potential that a team like the Falcons that have Drake London and Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson, they could bleed a couple more points to them like that. You can play Sam Howell too. Play Terry McLaurin if you want to. I'm a little bit pessimistic about McLaurin. I think he's more of a flex. And then I don't really like Brian Robinson either. I'm not a big fan of these options over here for Washington this week, but I think you can play Sam Howell. Now, when we go and we look at this next matchup, it's going to be the Saints at the Texans. And in this matchup, we do have a couple injuries here. For the Texans, they're going to most likely be without Tank Dell. We know Tank Dell is going to be missing in this one. It was given that they said that he's most likely going to be out. So I'm going to take that for what it is. When you look at the other side, Juwan Johnson's going to be missing. Same with Jamal Williams. And so that's where we're at with that matchup. Anthony says Cart is out for Tannehill. Ankle. Interesting. So this may mean, this might have dynasty implications for you, Anthony, because maybe, and I see it right now, it says Ryan Tannehill is heading to the locker room with a right ankle injury. We may get to see some Will Levis. My guess is they throw Malik Willis out there right now, right away, but we may see some Levis eventually. And so that might be interesting, man, especially for dynasty. We'll see what happens. But unfortunate for Ryan Tannehill. Where were we at? For the Texans, you can play Nico Collins. You can play C.J. Stroud. You can play Dameon Pierce, I think. All of these are lower end options, though, like more flex play options for you. When it comes to the Saints, you play Chris Olave. You can play Michael Thomas. You can play Alvin Kamara. I think Alvin Kamara is a fantastic play. As long as he's out there and he's healthy, he's going to be a fantastic play. And then I'm not really playing Derek Carr, but you can. If you're in like a super flex league, you can play Derek Carr. But I think there's a chance that if you have him in a super flex league, you can still keep him on the bench and be okay. No Juwan Johnson, like I said. So, for the tight end position, I think Foster Moreau would be the next guy up, but it's not given. So I wouldn't play any other tight ends there either. Keeping it moving, we got the New England Patriots and the Las Vegas Raiders. In this one, we're going to have no Juju Smith-Schuster for the Patriots, but it is going to be 3-point favorites for the Raiders and a 41.5-point over-under. This is the lowest over-under for the week. So the lowest scoring game for the week here in this matchup. Hopefully the Patriots can get some points up and not bench Mac Jones here again, but there have been rumors all week about them wanting to get creative. They signed Malik Cunningham to a 3-year deal to the active roster. There's like some other stuff that's been going on, but for the Patriots as a whole, I think the only guy that I can confidently tell you guys to play, and I don't even know if it's confidence when I say to play him, but the only one that I can say that I would play is Ramondre Stevenson. Outside of that, I don't know if there's anybody on the Patriots that I'm playing. If you're really desperate, you can play Hunter Henry. But the offense has been so putrid, it's been so bad, that there's really nobody in here that I really want to play. I see we have something here in the chat. Does say, which defense should I pick up? I have Jets right now. Raiders? You could. We're just talking about that right now, right? Like, we're talking about how bad of an offense the Patriots have been. This is projected to be a low-point game. I think there's a chance that if you pick up the Raiders, you could have a better day than than you have with the Jets right now. The Jets, they have to play the Eagles. I wouldn't necessarily be wanting to play my Jets defense against the Eagles, and no Sauce Gardner in this one. So AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, they're not even going to be covered by one of the best corners in the NFL. So I think definitely going to a Raiders defense is not a bad move if you have the Jets right now. Now, when we talk about the other side of the football, guys, Patriots-Raiders game, let's talk about the Raiders. Josh Jacobs play him. Devontae Adams play him. Jacoby Myers, you can play him. But that's really it, I think, for the most part. I'd like to see, for dynasty purposes, I'd like to see Michael Mayer get a little bit more involved. Griffin says, who's the better stash? Full PPR redraft, Salvon Ahmed, Keontae Ingram, or Antonio Gibson? Of these guys, I like Antonio Gibson the most. I think my second one would be Keontae Ingram, and then Salvon would be last. So in the order, it's really the opposite order that you listed it in, That's the order I would go: Gibson, Ingram, Ahmed. So let's move on to that next game. We kind of just touched on it, right? It's the Eagles and the Jets. The Eagles are 7-point favorites in this matchup. And excuse me for a second. And in this one here, it's 42.5 point over under for the Eagles and the Jets. We do expect them to win this game. Anthony says Amari DiMercato or Keontae Ingram. DiMercato today. I think that's the answer for me that I can give you is DiMercato today, but I don't know what that means moving forward. I like Ingram more than I like DiMercato as a prospect, but Ingram hasn't shown us anything at the NFL level yet, really. DiMercato, he's probably going to get the first touch today, and we'll see how that goes. But DiMercato today is the answer from me. So, like I've already mentioned, Sauce Gardner is going to be out in this one. So when you look at options that you should be playing, it's going to be, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. Those are lock-ins. You're going to play them. No Sauce Gardner. Throw them out there. They're probably going to, score 20 plus points each, especially if you're in a PPR league. Now, when you look at the other one, we played Dallas Goedert, we played DeAndre Swift, we played Jalen Hurts. I think we covered everybody on the offensive side of the ball. We play everybody for the Eagles. Now, for the Jets, you can play Garrett Wilson, you can play Breece Hall, and that's it. I don't know if there's anybody else that I'm playing outside of those two. Those are probably the only ones that I'm playing. So if you have any other Jets that you were thinking of, don't do it. But let's move on to the next game because we're kind of talking about those options. But it's the Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are 7-point favorites in this one. The over-under is at 48 points, so it's a lot higher than some of these other ones. And we don't really have any injuries. Obviously, the James Conner one is the big one. And Hollywood Brown was questionable coming into this one. It looks like he's going to play, so it's not going to matter there anyways. He's been questionable coming into the week for like 2 or 3 weeks in a row now. And so we're going to have, we're going to have Amari DiMercato take the first reps. We're also going to probably see a little bit of Keontae Ingram, like you guys have mentioned already before. When it comes down to it, I'm going to trust that Amari DiMercato, he's been healthy this year. He's been the one that's been on the field. He was the first guy up. I know Ingram wasn't playing last week, but he was the first guy up. He kind of did well when he did get called upon. So I think they're going to go DiMercato, and then we'll see what Ingram does. If one of these guys outproduces the other today, that's probably who they will go with moving forward. But like I said, DiMercato probably gets the first reps. Now, when we look at the other options, you can play Zach Ertz, you can play Hollywood Brown. I'm not sure I would play Michael Wilson in this one. But for the Rams, you pretty much play everybody. You can play Stafford, you can play Kyron Williams, you can play Puka and Cooper. And then the only one that I'm not playing is Higbee. I don't think you can play Higbee now. Now that there is 2 legit wide receiver options, Cooper and Puka, Higbee's kind of become an afterthought. So I would not be playing Higbee. Now, just a few more games here. We have 3 more games before we get out of here. So make sure if you guys have any more start-sit questions that you're throwing them in the chat, because after these 3 games, we will be getting ready to log off here. We have about 15 minutes until our show usually ends. So that should give us enough time to talk about these games here and answer these final questions. So ask those start-sit questions in the chat. I will answer them right away. And so the next game on the docket is going to be the Detroit Lions and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Lions are 3-point favorites in this one. No Jahmyr Gibbs. Second week in a row, we have no Jahmyr Gibbs. So fire up David Montgomery. He's going to be a smash play. Amon-Ra St. Brown is back in the lineup. He should be good. We're getting closer, man. I said the other day that I really want to see this offense with all of their options. And so we were like waiting for J-Mo to come back. And then J-Mo came back. And now Jahmyr is missing games. But it's like once we get these guys together, I want to see what they're capable of. But we should have Jahmyr back here in a week or 2 probably. But for now, it's David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, J-Mo. I think you can play all of them. I think you can, hold off on J-Mo, though. Like, I'm maybe getting a little eager saying to play J-Mo, but we can hold off on him for now. He got outproduced by Josh Reynolds last week. I know he's on a snap count, but let's see what happens as he gets a little bit more involved. Keep in mind, Sam Laporta pulled a hamstring late in practice or something like that. So he was questionable coming into this game, but it seems like the likelihood of him playing is pretty high. And we see Griffin in here. He says thoughts on Ronnie Rivers as a high-value handcuff. I don't know, man. I don't like I don't really love it because my thought process is, and maybe this is an older way of thinking, but if Kyron goes down, we're looking at guys like Ronnie Rivers, Zach Evans. If we're playing in the Ronnie Rivers, Zach Evans section, I think I would rather just go with the rookie that we had in Zach Evans. He was a better prospect to me. And then also, like, what's to keep them from going and, calling Leonard Fournette? This is a team that's, somewhat competitive right now. Who's to tell me that they can't just go call Leonard Fournette? So I don't really love wasting a bench spot on Ronnie Rivers in a redraft league. In a dynasty league, you can hold him, I guess. But I don't love wasting a bench spot on Ronnie Rivers in a redraft. Now, we've already talked about the Lions, but let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're going to play Rashad White. You're going to play Mike Evans. You're going to play Chris Godwin. And then I think other than that, that's really it. There's nobody else that I would be playing. Probably, we're just not at a point where we're playing any K-Dot and we're not playing really any Sean Tucker. We're not playing any of that. And there's many, many, many other options that you can play other than Baker Mayfield. And Anthony says Baker. And I know, man, we love Baker Mayfield over on this channel. Rooting for the guy. He's just one of those guys that I like rooting for. Kind of been written off. But love Baker, but I think there's a lot of other options you can play. Even one in this matchup, I would rather play, Goff than I would Baker. And so that's really it for that one, guys. We got 2 more games here, Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football. Your Sunday Night Football game is going to be the New York Giants and the Buffalo Bills. The big thing in this one is no Daniel Jones, so great, right? We get to watch Tyrod Taylor on primetime. Should be fun. Giants offense that's been electric with Daniel Jones. Now we get the backup. Should be great. So we get to see the Buffalo Bills beat them probably by like 20 points. And then which leaves me to the idea of like, am I playing really anybody for the Giants? Probably not. If Saquon plays, you can play him, but I'm not waiting till Sunday night really to figure that out. I think I'd rather just play somebody now if you have other options, honestly, and then just don't play any Giants. That's my advice. Don't play Giants. And then, sorry to Anthony. I know you said hold the last, but he said, no Daniel Jones leads me to play Mac Jones. Please hold the last. Can you get Minshew? Can you go find Minshew or Joshua Dobbs? I'd rather play either of them than Mac Jones. But for the other side of the football, the Bills, we're gonna have a good game. It's gonna be. And Griffin says, so you like the Bills minus 15.5? Actually, I have it over here on DK. It's minus 15, so I guess I get a bonus half point. But yeah, I like them minus 15.5. It should be pretty easy. Their money line's minus 13.50. So I don't know, man. It's not gonna be a fun game. If you want to spend time, tonight doing something else, guys, it might not be a bad day to go watch something else. Watch a movie or go hang out with your kids or your wife or your family. Go do something, man, because this game is not going to be great. Yeah, man. Anyways, other than that, for the Bills, play everybody. Play Josh Allen. Play James Cook. Play Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. Dalton Kincaid's questionable, so if you're waiting on Kincaid, probably play a different tight end. Don't wait on him. But if he's out, I think Dawson Knox becomes a better play than normal. And so our last game here on the docket is going to be the Dallas Cowboys and the Los Angeles Chargers. This game is supposed to be one of the best games of the weekend. And really, it's because we are going to get to see a lot of points, or it's projected to be a lot of points. It is 1.5 point favorites for the Cowboys and a 51 point over under. I would be playing pretty much everybody on each side of the ball for the most part. And Griffin says Dalton has dropped for Logan Thomas, and it's a good pickup. I like Logan Thomas. He's going to be probably a top 12 tight end for the next 2 to 3 weeks, most likely, in my opinion. But for the Cowboys, man, you can play Dak, you can play Pollard, you could play, I think you could play Brandon Cooks, you can play CeeDee Lamb, you can play Jake Ferguson. You might even be able to play Michael Gallup, depending on how deep your league is. Now, for the Chargers, we should have Austin Eckler in this game. So we can play Austin Eckler. We can play Justin Herbert. We can play Keenan Allen. I still don't know who to play between Quentin Johnston and Josh Palmer, but one of them is going to be relevant. And my gut tells me it's going to be Josh Palmer. My heart wants it to be Quentin Johnston. So take that with a grain of salt. Gerald Everett, you can play him as a flex tight end or whatever you need to do there as well. So there's going to be lots of fantasy points, lots of scoring, and I think we can play all of these guys. So that is each and every one of these games here for all of our matchups so far this week. Now, we do have a couple more questions in the chat that I'm going to answer. This is my final call. If you guys have any questions that you need answered this week before games start, drop them in the chat right now. We have about 10 minutes that we can spend answering questions. So throw any and all questions. They don't even have to be start sit. They could just be NFL questions or roster strategy questions or whatever it may be. But I'll answer all of these now. So we have about 10 minutes. And go ahead and throw those in the chat. So the first question here is start 3. KJ Osborne, AJ Brown, DJ Moore, Gabe Davis, Adam Thielen. For me, AJ Brown, DJ Moore, Adam Thielen. Those are the 3 guys that I will be starting out of this one. AJ Brown's a smash play this week. DJ Moore's a start of the week for me, and Adam Thielen should see a lot of work, especially playing from behind against the Miami Dolphins today. So Gabe Davis and KJ Osborne. KJ Osborne is by far the worst option, I think, out of these 5. I think, we could – he's a wait and see. Let's wait and see what happens with him. And then DJ Moore – I think he's going to have a good game against the Minnesota Vikings. AJ Brown, great matchup. Gabe Davis, big play guy. Adam Thielen, really. That's the answer to this question. So those would be the 3 that I'm playing. Sheik says, who do I set as wide receiver 2 and flex today? Higgins, Dante Foreman, Gabe Davis, and Chris Godwin. Wide receiver 2 and flex today. I would be going Chris Godwin and Gabe Davis. Those would be the 2 plays that I would be playing. They just feel like they have similar upside, but safer floors. I don't really want to play Foreman. I know he has a chance that he could do something, but I just don't want to play him this week. And then I'm steering clear of Higgins for the most part. He's somebody that I think you need to play with caution this week with that rib injury. And next question in here, Griffin says, what's your index these days? Good question. So I haven't got to play as much as I wanted to this year for the most part. I moved out to New Jersey at the beginning of the year. I used to play a lot when I lived in Utah, but since I've got to New Jersey, I haven't got to play as much. But my handicap right now is sitting at about a 20. I'm like a 20 handicap. I picked it up last year, just getting a little bit better each and every year. But yeah, man, trying to get a lot better. Broke 90 once. So, weekend warrior for the most part, but really started taking lessons over the last couple months. So trying to get better at that for you. But that would be awesome, man. I wish I could play a little bit more. Sheik says PPR league. Oh, looks like we answered this already. Oh, but he does say my wide receiver 1 is Tyreek already. So I'm good there. My QB is also Fields. Yeah, I like the fact too that if you have Fields, you play DJ Moore. Oh wait, no, that was the other question. Yeah, I just like Gabe and I like Chris Godwin. Malachi says start 2. Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, Damian Pierce. I'm going to be starting Joe Mixon and Josh Jacobs. Not bad as a sickness. Yeah, man, it's so fun. It's, I used to play a ton of basketball. I played basketball for years and years and years, pretty competitively. And so eventually I was like, I don't know. I stopped playing basketball as much and I started playing golf and became obsessed. So now I have all my golf hats, all my golf clubs over here in the corner. So, yeah, man, I need to keep getting a little bit better, but it's fun to just go out with the boys and then play around a golf. But that is all I have for you guys today. I'll give you guys another minute or 2 to throw a couple questions in, because at that point, it's almost time for these games. So hopefully you guys are confident in your lineups this week. Hopefully you guys can maneuver, been able to maneuver some of the waiver wires. I know we had some injuries. I know we had some things pop up that, made fantasy where it's always a game of sticking and moving. And so hopefully you guys are ready for that. hopefully the videos this week helped you guys out too. If you guys are, new into the channel, if you're looking at the stream and this is your first time here, go ahead and hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We post videos all week long, every week, to help you guys out, help you win your games, help you win your leagues, because at the end of the season, man, we want to have those trophies. We want to have the championship rings. We want to have the bragging rights. And for some of us, you play in leagues that you pay money for. We want to win that prize pot. So make sure you're following along. We want to help you guys do that. And more than anything, guys, have a good week. Hang out, eat some good food, watch some football, and I'll see you guys on the next one. So until then, peace out, guys.